On page Kuf. We are on page Kuf, and we are still, so to speak, on this line, 5 lines from the top. The line begins with RASHAB, even though this is where we started yesterday, but we are essentially still there because we need to so to speak, unbundle what we have learned here. We're talking about the principle of Milo Umato on a categorical level. And we said that Atzilus and Bria are categorically one above and the other below each other. Atzilus is Milo and Bria is Mata. And then further down, Yitzhira and so forth. Although Atzilus has Esespheres, and Bria draws from these Esespheres and becomes Bria, but the Esespheres of Bria are categorically below the Esespheres of Atzilus. How do we understand this union? I mean, what it means below, what makes it so distinctly different and further out. So, as a first step to understand this, Rebbe introduced the principle of Farsa, that between Atzilus and Bria, even though the spheres of Atzilus are supplying the spheres of Bria, but it's not a direct supply. There is a deviation in the middle. That's called a moshel, or it's illustrated by the moshel, and it's called the parsa. We explained the parsa Indian. Essentially, that before you go from Atzilus to Bria, in the process of going to Bria, there is a moment where you're completely distracted from the whole process. You're in different reality. It's called the parsa.
How do you spell that?
It's right there in top line. The top line.
Oh, it's okay.
And the Rebbe explains what is a parsa. How do we understand the parsa? And the parsa is similar to the principle of a moshel. What is the principle of a moshel? A moshel is a means to understand something to which you have no current access, by presenting it in similarity, but on a different level completely. Because you are in a different world. So presenting that inyan in your world, it cannot be directly. You find something in that world that has a similarity to the inyan that you're trying to talk about. And from this, you say, similarly, on the high world, it is such and such. But when you transition from the lower world to the higher world, you have to remember to refine it a bit. It's not exactly the way it is in the lower world. This is the general process of Lamoshel. Now we go inside again. Again, 5 lines from the top. V'yuvan zeh al derech moshel, this will be understood, utilizing a moshel process, v'hasogo shalono be'elakus. Our comprehension in Elokus will be used as a moshel to understand this principle of going from Atzilus to Bria through the Parsa. Sheharei, for behold, kol ha-hasogo be'elakus, any hasogo in Elokus, he mi piuleis of Yisborich. It is as a result, and it is drawn from Hashem's actions and effects. We have no understanding in Elokus directly, only from how it is manifest. She'alidei ha-piyules, which means, as a result of the piyules, on the yodim ma'asigim as Elokus. We know, and not only we know, but also comprehend, we get a sense of understanding of Elokus. Because there is piyules, there is divine piyules in the world. And from this we get to understand the Elokus itself. Now, let's examine this statement also. The Rebbe says, V'hine, behold, kol ha-pa'ulis lemato heim bismanu mokim. All actions here below are designed and they exist. They cannot possibly exist only bismanu mokim, in time and space. What does this mean? We'll have to discuss it a little bit, but let's look inside. Sheharei, since behold, leyei shum dover bo elam hatachti. There is nothing, anything in this lower world, shelo yiyeh b'bechinas zmanu mokoim. We should escape the whole bechina, the whole test, the whole phenomenon of zmanu mokoim, time and space. There is nothing in our world that is not in that bechina, in that category of zmanu mokim. Ve'al kein, and thus, therefore, as a result, kol hasogoseinu be'elokus, all our comprehension in Elokus, nitfas, is contained, gab kein b'bechinas mokim, also in the beginning of mokim, in a mokim aspect. Even though we are comprehending Elokus, yet we fit it into mokim in order for us to understand it. V'hainu, this means shehatziyur sichli shalonu be'elokus, that our intellectual projection in the Elokus, hu b'bchinas mokim, is in the mokim aspect. I want to give just a little bit of a pointed direction so that we can understand the phenomenon of this. It says in the Pasuk, "Vayir Hashem al Avram." Hashem appeared to Avram. What conjures up in our mind when we learn Vayir Hashem al Avram? Avram saw the Meibesh at some space distinct from at some distance from himself. He saw him, in some kind of in a place around him. This means that we are now projecting the presence of Hashem and the godly action as an action taking place in space, in place and time. But this is not clearly what the Likus is. The Likus is not time and space dependent, which we will discuss further, but just to point out what Rebbe's point is trying to tell us over here. We're all in space and time. This is our limit. When you say, I saw something, it has to be something in this kind of a design of place and time, space and time. Because we have no other conception. Because nothing outside of that design exists in our world. This is what we call, what he says in this line, our intellectual projection and design, the Lakus is in the Bechina of Mocha. Regardless of how great and how pure and how true and so forth, it is Bechina Mocha, it is in the realm of time, of place. Within that general concept, projection, there are distinctions, there are differences. Be'inyan, the differences are in the sense of Helem Hadakus. To what extent it is concealed, to what extent it is revealed. And then Hadakus means how fine is our perception. Hainu, which means, in parentheses, Be'ofen Hatziur. What kind of projection and form do we conjure up in our mind when we think about the Likus? Is it subtle or is it coarse, tangible? In the form of this, in the manner of this tzir, of this design, whether it is b'hakshama or it is in total sensibility and materialism, or b'dakos, or perhaps not perhaps. There are occasions, there are different minds in this world that have b'dakos. They perceive things b'dakos in a much more fine, subtle manner. Or beyond that, rak behelem. He actually perceives it behelem. Not he sees it as a tangible reality, but in a remote manner and a concealed manner. Behelem. The be'inyan naila belokus, which means in a supreme aspect of Elokus. We talk about something really supreme. Or the Baal Sechel God, or if the person understanding is a Baal Sechel God is someone who has greater and superior Sechel. Ein ha'inyan nitvos kol kach be'ezet tziyur. Then this inyan by him is not that much in some kind of a tziyur form. Umeir Yosef, And therefore, in that situation, he's talking about this higher aspect. And by a person with a greater sechel, Meir Yoser shines more Ho'inyan Atzmai. The inyan itself, not how it is to be placed in the world, how it fits into the world, but how the inyan is unto itself. And that is a reality to him. Shehu bechinas ha'oir, which is the bechina of oir. This, if it's behelem, and he relates to inyan itself, not how it is designed, how it defines its place, but the inyan itself, the reality itself, how it is unto itself. This is a different view. Inyan atzmi. Shehu bechinas ha'oir, which is the bechina of the oir. The oir, we already had many chances to delve into this slightly. Ultimately, each one has to find it in his own intellect. The oir, this is the effect of a supreme presence. Not a tangible aspect, not a place occupying in. Oir does not displace anything, nothing can displace oir. So, with the final approach, understanding the Lukus, one will relate to Lukus in a manner beyond tziyur, beyond form and design. He will approach it and relate to etzem ha'inyan, to the essential, to the inyan as it is unto itself. The truth of the inyan, rather than how it is
to remain on this call, press 1.
How it is to be correlated to our world in our space and time. This is known to the sechel only. And again, the point that needs to be addressed, and I'm constantly pointing this out, when we have an inyan that you cannot place in a worldly context, and it doesn't displace anything, and it doesn't get displaced by anything, immediately there come up the thought, is this real? Or am I just projecting and imagining? And here is where it is necessary to forewarn and to remind ourselves that our thought process and the source of understanding of sechel is not from our physical experience. Although we can only understand things within a physical design, a physical presence, but the ability to understand is drawn from a truth, from a real truth, not from our experience. It is drawn from a living neshama, and neshama is really a living a divine life element. To the extent, just to take in your face, no one understands what life is, even though we experience it on a constant basis. And we can tell immediately something is alive, something is not alive. But life it eludes us completely. It's not, we don't have a means to even begin to define it. Because life is a superworldly presence. It's a divine presence. The world cannot provide life. Only God can provide life. It is the godly presence in the world that brings life into the world. This is why this is something which cannot be displaced, and it doesn't displace anything. It has a different level of existence that the physical world does not affect it, or is not affected by it. On the other hand, the physical world, may say that the physical world is not affected by it, does not mean it's not affected. Of course, the physical world is affected by it, in the sense that the physical world is raised to a different platform, to a different level. It has life. Life is imbued in the body, and the body comes to life. To the extent that the body does not disintegrate as it would naturally would, and should, by its own design. And life keeps it fresh. This in that life keeps it fresh is not that it is given over to the physical, it becomes a physical entity. No. It is the presence of life itself that keeps it fresh. If it's a presence of life, so then how can life, the presence of life, be, so to speak, coexistent with the physical presence? This is what we say, they don't displace one another. Life is not displaced, but it imbues itself into the physical completely, and makes the physical live, while not displacing the physical, and the physical cannot displace life. It is on a different platform, a different level of reality, of a presence. There is no contradiction, there's no clash between the physical and life, that one would, so to speak, displace the other. And this is known not to a tziyur, we have no tziyur, we have no form to it. But this is the inyan itself of life, shehu bechinas ha'oir, which is the bechina of oir. And oir imbues itself everywhere. Aval behelem, this is the next line, we have to, about a third down the page. Aval behelem, so even though we are able to see and comprehend the inyan laki directly, the higher inyan directly, not through a physical design, which means the inyan atzmai, which is the beginner's ha'oir, aval behelem, but it always remains that behelem, underneath this view, and they concealed in a subtle manner. Hakoil hu nitwas b'tzir hamok. It remains contained in a tzir mokim, in a mokim type of a design.
We this that life does not, life and the physical do not clash, like was just said. It seems like by Tanya, with the war between, I mean, essentially between these two elements, it's an ongoing, each wants to be the ultimate ruler, whether it's the world of Elokis and Behema, or light and dark, or Yidden and Goyim. It seems to be a pretty strong battle going on.
But and here itself is the answer to your dilemma. Because both of these nefoshes, nefesh Elokis and nefesh Abamis, coexist in the same body. How can it be? When we say they don't clash, I mean that in terms of space, time and space, there is no, one does not displace the other. But in terms of their influence, in terms of their messages, and what it wants, when it draws a person, there is definitely a big difference, and a clash and constant battle. The Alter Rebbe describes this battle is Shnei Melochim Yilchomim al Yirachas. Two kings are warring over one city. We discussed this. It's impossible. It's important for us to focus in and try to understand this. Why is Yemoshel Shnei Melochim, two kings? Why not two dictators? Two Sorim. Because Melochim, a Melech has a very unique implication, intonation. Asar, a dictator, his whole presence in the world is identified by the territory that he rules. So therefore we have no question why is he warring over the city. Because this is what's going to give him a place in the world. It's going to make something out of him. Without that, he's a non-entity. I don't have to elaborate on this. I think it's well understood, especially from the history. A melech is in a different category. A melech does not need a place to be in order to be melech. Melech is an essential status. Okay, melech is above the fray. It's a different kind of reality from the ordinary thought process. He stands aloof of all challenges. So the Alter Rebbe explains, why are these two Malachim warring over the city? What do they need the city for? They are Malachim, they're real in their own place, their own reality. So he explains, because each one wants to affect his influence on the city. It is not in order for him to find a place where to be, but because he has as his own will and his own ideal to bring to bear his truth on this city. This is why he's warring over the city. There is no reciprocation, so to speak, back to him. Oh, therefore he gets anything out of it. It's a one-way street. But this one-way street is extremely important to him.
In what we were saying earlier, it did seem like the physical level is raised up by the life element, and that they sort of collaborate, let's say.
Not collaborate. Physical level allows the life element to take it over.
Yeah, which is
Same
not
thing.
the case. Which is not the case with these kings.
The same thing exactly.
Why is it not an ultimate war? Is not?
What?
Is the Tanya not describing a total war?
A total war against what? Against intruders.
But they're against each other.
They're against each other because he wants to imbue into this city his quality.
Right, which is different to what we just said now inside, that the
No.
physicality sort of welcomes or is raised up by the...
What happens when he takes over the city?
Who?
The Melech.
Well, it depends which king's winning, right?
That's right, but if the one who wins, what happens when he takes over the city? And what is it that he wants to accomplish in this war?
Yeah, well, the godly king seems to want to elevate all the subjects
That's
and
right.
have them all serve a purpose.
He wants
but
them to reflect his principles.
Right, but the king of Klippo, of body, of Behema, wants only its own interests. It's total pirud, it's total dissolution, right? What does he want? He wants to go his way, which is nowhere. They're not. If he does not win, fine. But it does seem like it's
okay. This is a completely different question. You're asking, okay, we can understand why there is a melech. Nefesh Olekis is a melech. But Nefesh Abamis, why did they have the principle of a melech, of malchus? And yes, indeed, that's a valid question. And the real answer to this is that it is a godly command. To the Nefesh Abamis. This Nefesh, each Nefesh has its particular mission. Nefesh Abamis has as its mission, from a divine source, to make it difficult for the Nefesh Olekis to reign in the body. Put a challenge to it.
That's the scope.
That's
the scope of
right
it.
there in Tanya. What?
That's the scope of its mission, to be
But-
oppositional.
Opposition.
No real project.
No real project.
Is
Exactly.
it connected?
That's an Azer. That's not an Azer. That's Knegdoi. In order, and the idea is, because this will bring forth deeper qualities from the Nefesh Olekis. When Nefesh Olekis is faced with an opposition, he has to overcome this opposition. This reveals deeper keches within the nefesh elokis. All the nisyonis that we go through is in order to reveal deeper qualities contained in our nefesh. But in practical terms, the battle of the nefesh habahamis is similar to that of nefesh elokis. It attempts and it wants and it seeks to force its rule over the city. Although the ultimate point in that is different than that of nefesh elokis. Okay? Let's just establish a point over here. We are on the line that begins with the word Avo Behelem. Even though we are capable in a finer sechel and a higher element, get directly to the inyan, not through emotion. So we have a direct sense of the inyan leki. That's only the oir. But behelem, underneath it, there is always forming in our mind a tzir mokr, a space and time, or a spatial type of a presence. This is where we're up to. Okay? Have a great day. Have a good chodesh. Love you things. Sei gesund. Gut Chodesh.